Hey YouTube, this is Itchy, and I have an unsubstantiated report that I came across via Twitter in Japan. This is being posted on several Fukushima news sites, and TEPCO has said several times that they have workers that have been missing from their roster, and it's actually several hundred people that have been missing. And they've only confirmed a few that have died from radiation exposure or from the original tsunami that washed through the plant. However, this person on Twitter estimated today that the number is much higher. Of 4,300 was the estimate, and I thought, wow, that really does sound high. But just as a quick check, I went over to Wikipedia to look at what the Chernobyl disaster had in terms of fatalities of people that worked directly with the radioactive materials. And of course, you have to remember the Soviet Union at that time were not sharing information with us, but there's been several agencies that have confirmed anywhere from 31 deaths to a UNSCER report stating that there were 64 deaths as of 2008. And the World Health Organization said that it could reach 4,000 civilian deaths, which did not include military cleanup workers. But if we go with this number 64, and if you recall, the Chernobyl disaster only lasted 2 weeks. Now, we did have workers that were dealing directly with radioactive materials. In fact, they were running in, putting the stuff in wheelbarrows and running it over to a place where it could be sealed in concrete or put in the ground. So I mean, they had some really direct contact with the materials. But keep in mind this number, 64 for one reactor. And now Fukushima has been going on for 8 months. So if there were 64 workers that died in 2 weeks at Chernobyl, and times that by 16, we get 1,024. But remember, that was one reactor, and we're dealing with essentially 4. Even though reactor 4 was empty, there was the spent fuel pool which caught fire and had several explosive events. Only one that was really documented or confirmed by TEPCO. So if you times that number by 4, 4,096. So it's definitely in the ballpark. Now, like I said, it is unsubstantiated, but I thought it was interesting that the numbers were so close. And you know, this is part of the scientific method. You see these correlations, and your research at that point is either to prove or disprove based on data that becomes available. Another thing too, which I thought was interesting, was on Any News. And let me bring that up real quick here. This is an excellent article on Chernobyl, by the way. It's really detailed. Any News was reporting, and I had seen on several blog sites yesterday, but I did not report on it because it was unsubstantiated, that Japan's emperor, empress, and his 9-year-old granddaughter are now ill, and they have been eating vegetables from Fukushima, and the emperor and empress actually visited Fukushima prefecture in April, and it turns out the empress is having severe pains in her arms and legs. The emperor is now hospitalized. He appears fatigued and has lost some resistance to fight his illness. And the 9-year-old granddaughter was diagnosed with mycoplasmal pneumonia after being hospitalized for fever and coughing. Now, the fever indicates that it's probably a viral or bacterial infection, but still. And these aren't the only interesting reports. There was also a newscaster in Japan who has been eating Fukushima vegetables on air. And let me bring up this article so you can see this guy's name. I had not heard of this guy before, but it turns out now he's sick too, and he's got cancer. Here it is. Sorry, I'm having to jump around. 63-year-old newscaster who's been diagnosed with acute lymphocytic leukemia. Getting ready for chemo, he felt a strange lump in his neck on October 28th. In his morning program on Fuji TV, he's been promoting Fukushima produce by eating them in the show. So, you know, just things to think about, some interesting news stories. I'll keep you up to date if I come across anything else, or if you do, please send it to me. Thanks. Stay safe.